Thank you Squarespace for sponsoring this video.
The 25th century. The far future, but not like the Discovery far future. It was a time of peace and harmony in the galaxy, so much so that we're gonna let all of our entire fleet be interconnected as one happy fleet. I mean, it from the beginning. Anyway, and not only that, but we had the Borg created some issues for it. And after them, the Borg created some issues for it. Do you see a theme? Now, to be fair, there was a bit of variety in there. The Changelings caused some issues as well. Now, while the 25th century fleet had some hiccups along the way, there was a lot of lovely variety that was introduced, well, from season 1 of Picard, but really from season 2 onwards. Now, what that did do is it allowed the people behind the scenes to start relying so heavily on the Excelsior, Miranda, and Oberth class ships, all of whom, which were beautiful in their own way, don't get me wrong, but by the time we got to the 2360s and 70s, they were beginning to feel a tiny little bit dated. By the time we got to the 25th century fleet, what we had were options. You know, in the 80s and 90s, they were sort of hamstrung by what they had available to them, what they could design for each movie as they went, and obviously so many beautiful designs came out of that. But now we're 30 years on from there, 40 years on from the 80s, and we have so many fan designs as well, which have found their way on screen, particularly in Star Trek Picard. What we're going to do for this is go into a bit of detail about the ships that appeared in the 25th century and this massive influx of designs. The 25th century fleet is now bigger than it ever was before and is prepared for anything, except the Borg. I'm Sean Ferrick for TrekCulture, and here are 10 secrets of the 25th century fleet you need to know. Number 10. Star Trek Online family photo. There are a couple of Star Trek Online ships buried within the 25th century fleet. One is an update of the Discovery design of the Edison class. This was originally under the designation of the Hoover class during the Battle of the Binary Stars. The online reasoning for their existence in the 25th century fleet was that they had been rediscovered at what had been thought a previously unreachable starbase. Starfleet then took these older designs and effectively retrofit them for a new century. In Star Trek Picard, there's no on-screen explanation as to why they're in the fleet, so this is one left up to headcanon really. Another online ship that turns up at Frontier Day is the Alita class, named for the anime series Alita Battle Angel. This, in Star Trek Online, was actually a different skin for the on-screen Akira class. It's also not the only subclass of a ship to appear in the fleet, as the Ross class was another skin for the Galaxy class ship in Star Trek Online. 14 Alita class ships appeared in the fleet formation during Frontier Day in what has been their only to date appearance. Well, to be fair, it's not that long ago, so there's still plenty of room for them to appear again. Number 9. Radio Gagarin. Not gonna lie, I enjoyed saying that. While some of the ships in the fleet can say that they're online specific in terms of their inspiration, some can actually trace their lineage back to Star Trek Discovery. The Gagarin class goes back to the Battle of the Binary Stars, when the USS Kerala, which was a Shepard class ship, took part in that fight. The USS Gagarin, another Shepard class ship, would appear later in the first season of Discovery, although the less we say about that, the better really. I liked that ship. Thankfully, I was not the only one who liked that ship, and it quickly found itself taking up residence in Star Trek Online, where the 25th century variant had been changed to be called the Gagarin class. The Gagarin class would appear in Picard's bookended episodes in the second season, and 24 of them would appear at Frontier Day. This was similar in a way to the Pathfinder class in that it was designed to be modular and that parts of it could be swapped out for uses in different missions. One unique feature that fans may not have spotted from a distance with the Gagarin class is the split pylons, where two elements come together to secure the nacelles to the body of the ship. This is normally simply two single struts, but look, if the Enterprise F can have a split neck, you can do anything really. Number 8. In the numbers. It might seem like a massive gift that through various comms communications, what we see on screen, what we see on graphs and on computer displays, is that fans have been gifted so much information about the fleet that was at Frontier Day. But actually, only about a third of the ships that were present have been to date identified. Production assistant and all-round king of Easter eggs, Jörg Hillebrand, has identified that 339 vessels were present at Frontier Day. That included 17 different classes of ships, from the instantly recognizable Sovereign class down to the single Constitution 3 class ship, the Titan A. There were 36 Pathfinder class ships in there, along with 36 Luna class ships as well. The Picard fleet also had the largest ever on-screen number of Defiant class ships at 18, proving that this is still a popular ship going off into the 25th century. There were also several Nova class ships present as well, so this showed a total of 4 ships that had been established in the late 24th century turning up in the 25th century fleet as well. And when you look at things like the Star Trek Technical Manual, you see that when you allow for refits and for starbase docks, these ships tend to last a while. The Nova class only took over for the Oberth class. That was in service for about 100 years. Number 7. Keep coming back. The fabled transwarp great experiment wouldn't keep the Excelsior down, and not only would this beautiful ship of the 23rd century make another appearance in the Next Generation as the true workhorse of Starfleet, but it was inevitable that at least a variant would appear in the 25th century as well. The Excelsior II class would retain much of the look of the initial Excelsior class. It was a more of an oval front-to-back look, if you look at the saucer section as well, and whereas the pylons on the original Excelsior class came at a 90-degree angle, these were a little bit more swept back. At the Frontier Day celebrations, 6 of these vessels were in attendance. It was designed by John Eves and Doug Drexler, who confirmed that it was a whopping 1,929 feet long. The original was about 1,676 feet, which itself was not exactly short. The new USS Excelsior, however, did not have a happy ending. It was... they managed to retake the ship from the Borg, so what did the Borg do? They blew it up then! Or, you can just imagine the Borg Queen sending the message out to the crew. Well, fly her apart then! Number 6. The House of Kraus. We've already gone through in detail the Enterprise G or the Titan A in a video all of its own, but let's look at another Bill Krause design that turns up in Picard's 3rd season. As with many of the show's ships, it's a reworking of another design. This is the Duderstadt class, the USS Intrepid, which is one of the more unusual looking ships in the fleet. We saw it delivering Commander Rowe to the Titan, and then... It's been said before, I'll say it again, it's the only time I've ever looked at a ship and went, that ship is mean in Star Trek. Well, I should add that, the only Starfleet ship. The Jem'Hadar warship is just... no. This version of the ship was designed by Bill Krause and Dave Blass, who took that original design that Krause had done and updated it, much like they had with the Shangri-La class for the Titan or the Enterprise G. What makes this design a little bit more unusual is that the nacelles and the pylons are attached to the primary hull, even though there is a secondary hull present, but they're not directly attached to that one. Despite Rowe's shuttle crashing directly into the Bussard collector of its port pylon, it was repaired enough to be present at Frontier Day with at least one other of its class, this one called the USS Trumbull. That one was named after the visual effects genius Douglas Trumbull, who worked on Star Trek The Motion Picture. Number 5. Sentries and Inquiries. Scouting around near Daystrom Station, the crew of the Titan A encountered a couple of Echelon-class ships. They might look a bit familiar because if you look closely, someone's just chopped the Stargazer in half. So instead of 4 nacelles, you just got the 2. These Echelon-class ships would turn up as part of the Frontier Day fleet, as would the Inquiry class, which had been introduced in Star Trek Picard's 1st season. By the time Season 3 rolls around, there's no on-screen qualification that the Inquiry is still the most advanced ship in the fleet, but one would imagine, probably not. Other ships have come since then, but when it's added to various other designs with the rest of the fleet, the Inquiry becomes a much more acceptable Starfleet design. When you're not seeing about 250 of them on screen at the same time, okay, I'm actually more on board. When we first saw that fleet at the end of Aeon Arcadia Ego Part 2, there were actually 4 different variants of Inquiry class. In Season 2, a slightly new variant turns up, and from that point on, Tobias Richter's online model is the one that has been adopted going forward. Major alterations were made at that point, including rounding the secondary hull a little bit, adapting the nacelles, and putting a proper deflector dish in place, as opposed to, as it was described by VFX artist Brad Tatosky, the air conditioning grate. Number 4. Honours to Trek. Flying among the ships of the 25th century are several vessels that take their inspiration from great names of the past. We see the USS Uhura and the USS Hikaru Sulu are both part of the fleet. The Uhura is a Reliant class ship. This is a Star Trek Online creation, but of course based on the Miranda class, which was the first non-Constitution class ship that we ever saw as part of Starfleet. This is before remasters and upgrades to the original series. The Hikaru Sulu was only seen by name on some of the graphics for Frontier Day, but it was later confirmed by Dave Blass to be an Odyssey-class starship, like the Enterprise F. Further, real-world Star Trek alumni who were also honoured are Mike Okuda and Rick Sternbach. USS Titan designer Sean Tarango also received his own namesake. Classic Star Trek ship names like the Appalachia, which had fought at the Battle of Sector 001, the Venture, which we had seen in a couple of DS9 episodes, but most prominently in The Way of the Warrior, and the Sutherland, which had been captained by Data in Redemption Part 2, all received shoutouts as well. Number 3. Sovereign Rights. While the Enterprise E might have been shoved in a shed by Geordie LaForge while he buffed out the dents and changed some of the light bulbs, the Sovereign class ship itself has enjoyed a long service history in Starfleet, clocking in now at about 28 years. They've been extremely active, with 8 of them appearing as part of the Stargazer's fleet in Picard's second season, and a further 38 of them taking part in the Frontier Day celebrations as well. In fact, this places the Sovereign class as the ship, or the class of ship, with the most individual appearances in Star Trek Picard. Now, of course, that doesn't include the Inquiry class from Season 1, because we tend not to. Sovereigns have also turned up in both Star Trek Lower Decks and Star Trek Prodigy, which makes them one of the most common ships in the fleet, along with the Akira class. Famous names are attached to the Sovereign class. The Van Sitters appeared in Lower Decks, while the Okuda took part in Star Trek Picard. Number 2. Old but not out. A true fan favourite that has really seen its share of outings is the Akira class, which was introduced at the Battle of Sector 001 in Star Trek First Contact. Designed with its unique kind of roll-on, roll-off, roll-bar, if you like, shuttle bay, it has appeared in First Contact, Deep Space Nine, Voyager. It has also appeared in Lower Decks and in Prodigy, before adding a further 18 of its number to the fleet at Frontier Day. It's also a funny one because while it's still very much in service in Starfleet, 2 of its number are in the Fleet Museum. One is the USS Wershing, which was of course named after Annie Wershing, who played the Borg Queen in Season 2 of Picard, along with a previous appearance in Star Trek Enterprise. She sadly passed away between the airing of Seasons 2 and 3, so adding this ship felt like a beautiful tribute to her. The other Akira-class ship at the Fleet Museum is the USS Sentinel, which was previously mentioned in the Deep Space Nine episode Treachery, Faith and the Great River. It was one of the ships with whom Nog barters, adding years to O'Brien's life. The Akira class, much like the Sovereign class, has been in service for about 28 years, making it one of the oldest class of ships to appear at Frontier Day, which may be just beaten out by the Defiant class. Number 1. Clear Path. While Season 1 ran into a few difficulties with the class of ships on show, looking at you Inquiry, the Seasons 2 and 3 both benefited majorly from Star Trek Online's designs. The Pathfinder class, first shown on screen as the Voyager B, made the transition from gaming to on-screen as the Thomas Moroni designed USS Drexler. Online has provided all sorts of variants for Star Trek over the last few years. The Pathfinder class has been around in some form or other since 2014. What's not stated on screen in Picard is whether or not it's equipped with the armor technology that Voyager brought back with it from the Delta Quadrant, which was one of the key parts of its tech in Star Trek Online. In fact, the Pathfinder class is a direct descendant from the Intrepid class. The ship itself is named after the project that brought Voyager home. It's said to be equipped with slipstream drive and a sensor dampening type of shield, which is about as far over the line of the Treaty of Algernon as Starfleet can get without getting the Romulans' backs up.
Hi, I'm Duncan Rillick, and I collect relics from before the burn. My store, Relics by Rillick, is open on Starbase 80. Yes, it is still there. And whatever quantum reality you're from, you can check me out thanks to Squarespace. Squarespace's all-in-one website platform is the best tool to help we entrepreneurs succeed in this galaxy. Thanks to Squarespace, I can link Relics by Rillick's social accounts and multimedia, letting you see everything I've discovered through that portal. Squarespace also allows me to use built-in email campaigns and marketing tools to fundraise on my site too, because it helps me fund my travels, because they are not cheap. Squarespace also has fantastic SEO doodads that let us show up more often and to more civilizations. Don't forget to stay one step ahead of the Breen though. Speaking of, Squarespace uses Starfleet approved design intelligence AI technology. You get to stay in control and build your own personalized wonderful website. Go to squarespace.com/TrekCulture for a free trial and 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Remember, if it ain't Rillick, then it ain't a relic. No relation.
That's everything for our list today, folks. What did you think? Let us know in the comments below. Do you want to see more of these ships? Because I do. Thank you so much, Clive Burrell, who wrote the article that this is based on. You can check that out over on whatculture.com. Please make sure you're following us on the various socials. I've been at Sean Ferrick. We are at TrekCulture. Just type us in. You'll find us. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Live long and prosper. I'll see you soon.